Hello and welcome to our September Founders Friday. We are so glad that you've joined us. We are here to talk about some really exciting things that are happening here at Azure. We just love to be able to share out what we're doing around here and how that's going to impact you as a customer. So right now, David's going to talk to us about what we're doing for our rebuild. As everyone, I think, in our customer base is aware that we lost our headquarters back in April. And so we've got a rebuild going on. And then we are also expanding our warehouse. And so he'll be talking about that. And then some fun routing changes and plans that we have to better serve customers in our metropolitan areas. So David, without further ado, I'll give you the floor.
All right. Well, thank you guys. Welcome today. We'll, Karen was mentioning we are in the process of doing the rebuild up at our headquarters building, and it's there's a lot of work to it. We, starting over from scratch, especially when you have a huge cleanup. But we now have the cleanup completely done. We've had to rebuild most of the foundations. Most of the foundations are rebuilt. The footings are being poured. In fact, they poured a bunch of them yesterday. So that's kind of where we're at. We're pouring footings, and everything is on track for pouring the slab, the concrete for, we're scheduled for, I believe it's the 14th of October for the slab. Then if everything goes as planned, 2 weeks later, we should have the building. It's about the amount of time it takes the concrete to set up anyway, to be strong enough for the building to be bolted to it. And then start erecting that building. So we're pushing as hard as we possibly can to get this building up before the snow flies, because we do get snow here, we do get winters, and right now we have product out in semi-trailers, on every little nook and cranny we can possibly find. In the summer, it's not terrible because we can run forklifts back and forth, between different places. We can pull the trailers in and out of the building, to the mill building rather, and to the warehouse as we need to. But when the weather changes, that won't be so easy. So we are on a big rush to do that. The main big warehouse building in Morrow, the add-on that I did talk to you about, we're making progress on it. All the excavation is done. It's pretty much just we're not going to be able to get the building before the snow flies is the bottom line. So we're going to probably be looking at late winter, early spring before that actually is able to go up. Once the weather breaks, hopefully sometime late February or early March, we'll be able to get started on that. We're still hoping we can get the concrete down this fall, but we don't actually have the schedule for that one quite yet. So that's kind of where it's at, but I think we'll make it through the winter. If we can get the headquarters building up, we'll be in good shape for making sure that we serve everybody appropriately throughout the winter. So, as Karen mentioned, we do have kind of a new concept that kind of had in the back of the mind for a while, but it's been one of those things that's, it's a whole new thing, and it's kind of hard to implement right out the gate and pull all the pieces together. But we've been looking at the possibility. Azure here has traditionally been more of a rural company. We have served rural areas that almost nobody else goes to. We've served small towns and all over the country, but we've never been really very good at the metro areas. We run big, very large semis, 48-foot trailers. They're 67 to 69 feet long total for delivery trucks. And once you get into metro areas, it becomes harder and harder to make the deliveries in that big of a truck. So we get limited more and more to the areas that we can go into. So over the past 2 years, we've had a lot of growth in our metro areas. It's been amazing that we've seen so much growth in the cities, and which is great. We love to be able to serve the cities, and I think people in the cities need good organic food, probably worse than anybody. But getting the logistics of it has been pretty difficult. So in the back of my mind, we've had this idea of maybe putting a hub in where we can serve the big metro areas with smaller trucks, make it a lot easier to get in and out of, faster to get around. We're able to do it. So we finally, starting here in about 2 weeks, we have all the infrastructure together for starting a pilot project and a test in the Los Angeles area. So LA is probably the largest, or has the most volume of any of the large metro areas, maybe besides Portland, but we already, I think, do a pretty good job with Portland because we've been doing it for so long. But of all the areas that we've been trying to serve, probably LA has the most, and it has the most really difficult spots to get into of the places that we do a lot of sales in right now. So we have gotten the logistics together. We will be putting on, to start with, 2 small trucks in Los Angeles area. We will be feeding it with a big truck at least every week. We may end up with 2 per week before too long, but to start with, it'll probably be 1 a week. We'll be going in and unloading the product from the big truck, all staged correctly, and that will break into roughly 4 small truck loads. So from onto the small truck, we are splitting Los Angeles into north, south, east, and west. So the north side, that'll be from Santa Barbara kind of down to LA proper, including Oxnard and that whole area up in there. The west will be basically LA proper, from where the north ends all the way down pretty much like to Anaheim area. And then the east will be pretty much everything east of LA, including Riverside, and I think we're going clear as far as Palm Springs and Indio area, going east with that small truck. And then our south will be basically Oceanside to San Diego. And so we will have these two trucks that can make these deliveries. So each day they will make the deliveries for those particular areas. And so theoretically, in 4 days, all of LA should be delivered. We get down there on the big truck, gets into Los Angeles early Monday morning. We should be on our way on Monday to deliver with the small trucks, and then they go back to the hub or the warehouse that we're staging the product the next morning and pick up their next load, which will go. So I think we're going to start with south, east, west, north, just so that it all flows well. West and south will be a little bit larger than east and north, at least to start with, until those of you in LA East and North grow that part of the business. And one of the things that will allow us to do that we have had a hard time doing in places like Los Angeles is to serve a lot of the stores and smaller mom and pop markets better. One thing that we find that when we're trying to deliver into those areas with the big trucks, that down in those retail areas, getting a big truck in is extremely difficult. And sometimes the timing of when you need to have the truck in there makes it almost impossible for us to work with those folks. And not because they're necessarily trying to be difficult. It's just they have this little tiny dock in the back, if they even have a dock, which some of them don't. And you're trying to take all that in, and in the peak of the day, you can't get any kind of truck into there because the traffic there's just cars parked everywhere. So you need to be able to get in hours that are not overwhelmed with parked cars and traffic and things like that. So by using these smaller delivery trucks, especially since we'll have 2 of them, we can juggle those schedules around to be able to get to places when it's reasonable and safe. And I think that's real important. But the really cool part of this is, and why I really wanted to share it with all of you instead of just people that live in Los Angeles area, which they're the only ones that will be affected immediately, is that we're really using it as a pilot project. So if it works in LA, then we will be able to move into some of the other major metro areas using the same model. If the model works in Los Angeles, it should work in San Francisco, also very tight areas. It should work in Chicago, in Washington, D.C., New York. We have, as far as folks getting on our website, even though most of them can't really place orders because we can't really get into major metro areas like Chicago. But Chicago and New York, actually, we have more web traffic from those cities than anywhere else in the country. Obviously, they're big cities. So that, people that just find our website and look at it, there's a lot of traffic. But the thing is, we can't really, we are not doing a good job fulfilling any orders that go into there. We have to ship them UPS, or the folks have to drive out of the city. If you're in New York, we can't get our big trucks into New York City or anywhere close. They have to meet down on the edge of Jersey or up, east of the city. One gal that lives in New York told me that it's even though it's only about 25 or 30 miles, that it's a hour and a half drive each way to go to her drop point from, I think she lives in Long Island area. So, as we, serve those areas, we need to be better. And again, we're just doing the experiment in LA, but the concept, if it works in LA, it'll work in other major metro areas. And that's kind of what's exciting to me here, because that will open up Azure for the metro areas. Even though, obviously we're a rural company, Dufur is a small little town here. I don't know, what is there, 500 or 600 people in Dufur, something like that. It's, and our headquarters was not even in a little town of 500, 600. We were up 8 miles out in the country from that. Morrow, where the main warehouse is that the shipments come off, I don't think it's much bigger than that. It's about the same size as Dufur. Maybe it is the county seat, so it's it might actually be a little bit smaller than Dufur, 100 people smaller or something. But it's the county seat, and there's a courthouse there and stuff in Morrow. So we are definitely from small town America here. at Azure. You know, most of our team is from small town America. Most of our, people, all of us, we're not. It took us a long time to understand what we have to do in the major metro areas, but I think that this is our first step in the right direction for that, and we're actually really excited to see if we can't make that a real part of Azure, because in the rural areas, there's a lot more availability of food many times than in these major metro areas. We get to look and, sure, there may be some supermarkets and there may be a Whole Foods or something like that. But the amount of, the cost of that from places like Whole Foods and the availability is pretty poor. And so, that is a rather a big step on our side. And I don't know how fast we'll be able to get all that off the ground, but we will be starting in LA in 2 weeks. And so I've been spending a lot of time refining that, working through that, trying to communicate, trying to make sure we get the drops, so it doesn't, so we don't make any major errors moving out, because it's a totally different concept, from the way we load the trucks to the way we make deliveries to the way that we have to do our cutoffs and the drop points. It's all going to be changes that is slightly different than the model that we do every day and all the time. So I think it's totally doable. Hey, that's one of the fun things about Azure here, is that innovation is at the top of our list. We want to be innovating all the time so that we can serve our customers better, so that we can have better relationships with our vendors and get better quality food at better prices. Hey, that's what it's all about. I feel like, we have done a pretty good job of that, especially during this last year where the food supply has been really tight. And going back into that, I feel like the food supply is definitely, for the long term, still tight, but we are right after harvest, so there's a lot more availability right now than we will probably see later in the year. But availability for most things is actually pretty good right now. Harvest, new crop is coming on. Pretty much everything is fresh, new crop product and ready to roll right now. Or it is rolling already. It's not just ready, it's going. So, as you fill your pantry, great time to do it right now, because it's the latest, freshest crop, pretty much from everything in the northern hemisphere, at least. Southern hemisphere obviously is a little different, but there's just a few things from down there. But so I think we're looking at a good couple months moving forward here as far as availability and supply, and we want to make this a great next great couple months, and I appreciate all of you for supporting Azure. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, David. What a great update. We are super excited around here for all the fun changes and ways that we can serve our customers. And we want to thank you also for standing by us as we've gone through some challenges this year with the fire and having to kind of reconfigure and all the different things that we've been doing. So thank you so much. We are so happy for the support you've provided for us. As always, if you have questions or topics that you would like David to address or someone here at Azure to address on Founder Friday, email your question or your topic that you would like us to cover to info@azurestandard.com. And if you can put in the subject line Founder Friday, the team will know that that's something you want us to address, and then David and I will make sure that gets on the agenda for one of our Founder Fridays. So thank you. We appreciate you all, and may you have a blessed weekend.